What happens when two of America's loudest voices go head-to-head with no script, no filter, and millions watching? It started like any other talk show, smiles, applause, and a polite welcome. But within minutes, everything fell apart. Whoopi Goldberg wasn't holding back, and Trump, he wasn't backing down. Insults flew, tempers exploded, and before anyone could stop it, Donald Trump stood up, ripped off his mic, and stormed off the View stage. But what really pushed him to the edge? And what happened after the cameras cut? Because this clash wasn't just television drama, it exposed something much deeper about America's divide. The tension was already thick before the cameras even started rolling. Producers backstage whispered that this episode could go off the rails, and they were right. As the show began, the studio audience was split right down the middle, half cheering, half booing, all waiting to see what would happen when Whoopi Goldberg faced off with Donald Trump. Trump walked in with that familiar confidence, chin up, smile sharp, waving like he owned the place. Whoopi sat back in her chair, arms crossed, eyes locked on him. No handshake, no small talk, just silence that felt louder than the applause. The camera zoomed in, Trump smirking, Whoopi unmoved. It wasn't just a talk show anymore. It was a battlefield disguised as daytime TV. Everyone could feel it. Something was about to explode. Whoopi didn't waste a single second. The moment the pleasantries ended, she leaned forward and hit Trump with the question everyone knew was coming. Do you take responsibility for what happened on January 6th? The audience went silent. Cameras zoomed in. You could practically feel the tension. Trump straightened his tie, leaned into the mic, and said calmly, "I told people to protest peacefully and patriotically. Everyone forgets that part." A few claps broke out in the crowd, but they were drowned out by boos. Whoopi didn't flinch. She said, "You waited hours. People were breaking into the Capitol and you were watching." Trump fired back. "I was watching the same footage you were, Whoopi. And where was this outrage when cities were burning for months?" The audience gasped, and that's when the tone of the entire show shifted. Joy Behar jumped in, waving her notes. "That's not the same thing, Mr. Trump." But Trump kept going. "You people don't want truth. You want headlines. You've been doing this to me for years." Each sentence hit harder, each response more defensive, more emotional. And for the first time, Whoopi looked rattled. She glanced at the producers off camera, but they didn't stop the taping. Trump leaned back, smirked, and said, "You asked the question. Don't be shocked by the answer." The crowd erupted, half cheering, half gooing, every voice clashing at once. What started as a question about accountability had turned into a live, unfiltered shouting match. The studio was chaos. The hosts weren't waiting their turn anymore. Everyone wanted a piece of the argument. Joy Behar jumped in first, voice sharp, paper shaking in her hand. "You told people the election was stolen and then they attacked our Capitol. How do you justify that?" Trump didn't blink. "Joy, you and your friends spent 4 years calling me illegitimate. Russia, collusion, impeachment, it was all fake. But when I question something, I'm the bad guy?" The crowd split again, half cheering, half booing, every voice clashing at once. Sunny Hostin leaned forward, cutting through the noise. "You're not the victim here, Mr. Trump. You were president. That means accountability." Trump turned towards her, his tone tightening. "You were the most investigated president in history, and you people still found nothing. You talk about accountability, but it never applies to your side." Whoopi's voice rose above the shouting. "You failed the Constitution. You told people they could overturn it with anger." Trump shot back instantly. "You undermined democracy for 4 years with your lies about me, and you have the nerve to talk about the Constitution?" The audience gasped. Whoopi's jaw clenched. For a few seconds, there was only silence, just the sound of cameras whirring. Then, Trump leaned closer to the table and said quietly, "You don't want accountability. You want revenge." It was the line that changed the whole atmosphere. Whoopi looked straight into the camera, her voice shaking slightly. "No, Mr. Trump. We want the truth." And with that, the room exploded again. Applause, boos, shouting, no one holding back. Trump smiled, almost amused. He said, "This is what happens when you live in denial. You mistake truth for hate." The segment ended in total chaos. Producers scrambling, audience shouting, and Trump sitting calmly in the eye of the storm. But what came next would push him past his breaking point. Trump had enough of playing defense. He leaned forward, pointed straight at the panel, and said, "This is exactly what's wrong with this country. People like you think you speak for everyone. You don't." The audience went quiet again. "Real Americans," he continued, "aren't sitting in New York studios judging people. They're working, they're struggling, they're paying the price for your bad decisions." Whoopi shook her head, almost laughing. "Real Americans voted you out, sir. You lost, fair and square." Trump snapped back. "I got more votes than any sitting president in history. And if you think the people watching this trust you more than they trust me, you're living in a fantasy." Joy Behar crossed her arms. "You still can't admit you lost." Trump smiled, that slow, deliberate grin that drives his critics crazy. "Maybe you should travel outside the city once in a while, Joy. Go to Ohio, go to Texas, go anywhere people don't clap for you just because you insult me." The audience roared, half cheering, half booing, the energy raw, divided, almost electric. Sunny Hostin jumped in, her tone sharp. "That's not real America. That's your echo chamber." Trump didn't miss a beat. "My echo chamber is made up of truck drivers, nurses, farmers, people who built this country while your side shut it down." Whoopi leaned in, voice low but firm. "You call it real America, I call it chaos." Trump replied instantly, "You call it chaos because you can't control it." For a moment, no one spoke. The tension was thick, two Americas colliding right there at the table, on live television. And just when the crowd started to settle, Whoopi looked at Trump and said, "You sound more like a performer than a leader." Trump smirked. "Funny. That's exactly what people say about you." The crowd erupted. And that's when everyone realized this wasn't just a talk show anymore. It was a showdown between two worlds that no longer speak the same language.
Whoopi leaned forward, tone dropping from fiery to serious. "You talk about real Americans," she said, "but real Americans died under your watch. People lost family, jobs, everything." The audience fell silent. Trump's posture stiffened. "We did what we could with what we knew. Nobody had ever seen anything like it." Whoopi didn't let up. "You mocked masks. You called it a flu. You held rallies while people were dying." Trump interrupted, voice rising. "I stopped travel when everyone told me not to. We built hospitals in days. I got a vaccine in record time, and you still blamed me." The room crackled with tension. Joy Behar chimed in from across the table. "You downplayed it. You told people it would disappear by Easter." Trump turned toward her, calm but sharp. "I tried to keep people calm, Joy. The media wanted panic. I wanted hope." Whoopi's voice trembled, this time not out of anger, but emotion. "I lost people, Donald. I watched friends go into hospitals and never come out." For a rare second, Trump went quiet. His expression softened just slightly. "I'm sorry for your loss," he said. "Nobody wanted that. But leadership isn't about predicting everything. It's about standing tall when the world falls apart." The audience reacted, a mix of gasps and applause. But the moment of empathy didn't last long. Sunny Hostin broke in. "Standing tall? You were tweeting at midnight and fighting with scientists. That's not leadership, that's chaos." Trump leaned back, voice firm again. "Chaos is when people in power lie to you. I told the truth as I saw it, and I wasn't afraid to be wrong." Whoopi's eyes narrowed. "You weren't just wrong, you were reckless." Trump smirked. "And yet, here I am." The crowd erupted, half in cheers, half in outrage. That single line, confident, defiant, reignited the storm. The calm was over. The tension was back. And what came next would take the show to a place no one expected.